now, like we've just been so far off topic for so long. Now I'm trying to think of like what we were going to talk about. I mean,
we
Aaron Rodgers.
oh yeah,
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Round of applause, Joe Douglas. I'm going to go ahead and give it to him.
So I haven't actually like I've seen like some of the compensation, but I felt like it wasn't a lot.
It wasn't what the Packers probably demanded, but they got enough stuff, I think. I mean, if you really think about it, how big the contract is and how many legit years Rodgers has left, for me when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, I think they got enough for what they're getting, not for getting Aaron Rodgers, if that makes sense. Like for a very if you just looked. Again, I'm going to completely contradict myself. If you look at the numbers of who Aaron Rodgers is and take his name off, that was a good trade. As soon as you throw the name Aaron Rodgers on there, now it's like, maybe they didn't get enough for him.
I know that Aaron Rodgers contradicts himself, but a lot of people are saying that this is just like for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. He did say today in his press conference that this isn't just a 1 year thing and retire. He views this as a commitment. So it looks like he's hinting towards the fact that we might get him for more than 1 year. But again, every year Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm going to retire after this year. And he's like, 1 more year.
We'll see that when the Jets go 7-9-1, and then he goes back into the darkness.
That was my thing. I was going to ask, what are the legitimate expectations for the New York Jets? Now, I think we made predictions about this earlier, like when we were like, oh, well, they're clearly going to get him. Now that it's happened, what are the legitimate predictions for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets?
I mean, this past year we had one of the top defenses in the league. We had a great rushing offense before Breece Hall got hurt, and we also had like an entirely second string O-line at some points. So you bring back our running back, who was probably going to be offensive rookie of the year, and then you get our entire starting O-line, which is healthy, and we're probably going to draft one in the first round, so you get another good talent in there. We added Alan Lazard, who he likes working with, who Aaron Rodgers likes working with. You already have Garrett Wilson, who did win offensive rookie of the year. You beefed up the tight ends room this past year. You got some solid guys there. And then you've even got Mecole Hardman, who absolutely flies. This dude's got burners. So you're adding on just like a few pieces, nothing like world-stopping. But then you run back the exact same defense that was playoff caliber last year. Like, truly, the Jets were a quarterback away. And then we just traded for one of the best quarterbacks in football. I know a lot of people say he's washed and didn't have as many good – or didn't do as good this past year. He also had – back-to-back seasons, so if you're expecting him to win an MVP, like that might be unrealistic standards because I mean, like he'd done it back-to-back years, but expecting him to do that last year, whenever they lost Devontae Adams and their offensive coordinator and replaced no one and just had like an entirely depleted offensive core and just the weapons, I think that was unrealistic. I mean, am I saying the Jets have the best in the NFL? No, I'm not. But I think that Aaron Rodgers winning the MVP this year is more plausible than last. I think that the Jets making the playoffs are not a lock, but I would say a very, very, very good chance. The only thing that sucks is that the Jets are in a very difficult division because obviously the Patriots are very good. You have Bill Belichick. The Dolphins this past year were damn good. I mean, they would have been able to make a run if Tua didn't get 17 concussions. And you obviously have the Bills, which are insane. So you've got probably the best division in football. I truly think that the Jets winning the Super Bowl this year is the goal. I mean, you trade for someone like that, like it has to be the goal. It can't be like, okay, guys, we just barely missed the playoffs last year with a second-year quarterback who we had to bench halfway through the season. Now we're adding in one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but we just hope to win by 2 wins. I think the goal has to be the Super Bowl. That's what you're playing for, and I think that it's a realistic goal.
Okay, goal. You said that's what you think the goal is. What's your legitimate expectation?
That was gonna be my question.
What do you think is actually going to happen this year for the New York Jets?
I think it depends. I mean, when I say this, are we living in a world without injuries? Like, am I just predicting Aaron Rodgers to play every game that we play?
Playing with injuries. What do you legitimately think is going to happen to the Jets at the end of the 23 season?
I think that everyone gets injuries, obviously. Like, everyone's going to get banged up. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets go and lose someone that is very important. Like this last year we lost, like I said, some O-line guys, our running back. We kind of got unscathed with the injuries on defense. No one really got hurt by that, so that was lucky. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a defensive injury, so I would expect that to see probably a step back. I think on offense, though, like you have to take a huge boost, like or they're going to make a huge boost, and I truly think that the actual expectations are 11-6. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because I'm actually scrolling through like who your opponents are next year.
How do they do in the playoffs?
That's difficult. I
Obviously,
think
matchups matters.
yeah, it really depends on who.
It'll probably be a wild. Let's expect a wild card spot. Do they win their wild card game? As let's say they win, I think they'll win their division. I think the Bills are going to take a step back due to some heartbreak this year. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be insane. Let's say you win your division at that 11-6. You play in the wild, but you still have to play a wild card game. Do you win the wild card game?
If we win the division, yes. If we are a wild card team playing in the wild card round, I don't know. It depends on who we play. Say we are one of the teams that gets one of the other division winners, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But if
Unless
we're
you get like Tennessee or
that,
the
yeah,
Colts
I was
or
about to say unless you get
Texans or
like the
Jaguars.
AFC South winner, then I mean maybe you might be sitting
But-
a little bit better.
See, I feel like if you do get that AFC South winner, they're probably destined to be that number 4 seed. So that means if you're playing, I'm thinking about this wrong, because the 4 seed would play the 5 seed. I don't know why I was thinking 4 would play the 7. Never mind. My point is moot.
Yeah, so you would be the best wild card team. That's best case scenario, honestly. I would
Yeah.
I would rather probably, like, it's gonna sound bad, but I would rather not win the division.
And be
And
that
then-
5th seed.
Yeah,
that would-
and then play
the AFC
because
South
I mean
probably.
they reseed in NFL, so I mean it doesn't matter. Like I mean we'd probably have a harder matchup going into round 2, but I think that round 1 is really like what at this point, like it would just be like obviously you want to win Super Bowl, like I said, that's the goal. But winning the first round of the playoffs, I think, would just be a win. The Jets fans would be like, "Wow, guys, like this is what it feels like to be a winning organization."
Yeah.
And then the Chiefs are like, "Yeah, well, win a Super Bowl first." We're like, "Yeah, shut up. This is what it feels like to be a winning organization."
That was my question. If you have to end up playing the Chiefs, the Bills, who even is good in the AFC? The
Bengals, probably.
Bengals.
Yeah.
If you played any of those 3 teams in the playoffs, what are your chances, do you think, right now?
It depends on the team. I mean, we beat the Bills this past year with Zach Wilson. I think we could easily beat him again. The Chiefs, I think if we really commit to the pass, I mean, obviously it's so hard to do anything against Patrick Mahomes, but we have legitimately one of the best secondaries in the league because we've got like solid safeties. We've got Sauce Gardner, who I think is the best cornerback in the league already, and DJ Reed, who is insane. Like I think he was a Pro Bowl alternate this past year. I think that if you just focus, like you just say, all right, run it on us, and we've got like a pretty good front 7. I think that we could stand a chance. I think that in terms of beatability, I think it goes 1, the Bengals, who we have the best chance, just because their O-line is not any good, and we've already got good secondary, so we can match it with their receivers. We can send our linemen at their O-line, get pressure on Burrow. I think 2 is the Bills because they're, like I said, they're a solid team, but we've already done it before with a worse team. And then 3 is the Chiefs. Chiefs would obviously be the hardest matchup for just about anybody, but I still think there's a way. Like I think that it is very realistic, just not the most probable outcome that the Jets make the Super Bowl.
So do we have time? Like I was just gonna go through like the Jets schedule and
Yeah.
kind of like just see what your thoughts. So
I'll go week by week. Yeah.
yeah,
I
well
like-
I don't know. They don't have. Have they released the weeks yet?
no,
'cause
that actually comes out in like a week.
Okay,
But
so I just want to go through this. So let's just start with your division. So you're playing them 6 times. What do you expect them to go in those 6 games?
Okay, I don't know because this year, like our record was carried a little bit. Like we had some wins that are just so improbable. Like when we last second win against the Browns, whenever we recovered an onside kick and then ended up scoring 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes to win. Like that's not something you can bank on every year. Tua was hurt last year, so we beat the Dolphins a few times. I think realistically, because we don't have Zach Wilson, you can't make rookie mistakes. Aaron Rodgers is not going to make rookie mistakes. I realistically think that we're going to beat the Patriots twice.
Okay.
I think we beat the Bills at least once. We beat the Dolphins at least once. I think there's a possibility we sweep the Dolphins. I don't think we sweep the Bills.
So at worst, you
So-
think 4-2 against your division opponents?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go through this. You play the Kansas City Chiefs at home.
At home. Okay, that's one where I really think that it could go both ways, especially being at home. Like I think the Jets faithful, like Gang Green, they're renewed this year. You're getting like the front office is showing we're willing to do what it takes to win. We had a really good draft, making trades. I think that fans are going to play a huge part in that, but I'll go loss.
Okay.
See, I'm actually going to go, I would say win. I bet that's similar to like the Colts beating the Chiefs. Is it? Like, obviously, you don't know a week, but I feel like that
it depends on the
feel
week
like
as
that
well.
could be a weird game where the Chiefs just don't show up for some reason, and the Jets are going to be all in because it's the defending champs, and I can see the Jets winning that one.
And also, even if, like, say it's like week 2 or something, it's like first home game, that's huge because
Yeah.
everyone's going to show out then. And it's kind of like, holy shit, like, this is what we've all been waiting for. Like, they're going to play their asses off.
Okay, you got the Chargers at home.
I think that's a win.
It's got to be a win.
The Chargers are very talented. Justin Herbert's very good. I don't like their
If
head
Brandon
coach. I'm
Staley's
not a
still
head
there, yeah.
He'll be there. I'm not a
so.
fan of Brandon Staley. I feel like he mismanages the game so poorly.
Okay. Eagles at home.
Ooh.
Damn, why the fuck is our schedule so
Jeez.
difficult? Damn. Eagles at home. Shoot, I don't know. I mean, they lost a lot of pieces on defense. I'm going win because we do have a really good defense, so we can kind of compete with their offense. But they lost so many spots or so many players in their defense that I think we win that.
Okay. Did the Packers beat the Eagles last year? Did they play? Am I thinking of a different team?
I do not remember.
Didn't the Eagles also almost lose to the Commanders?
Yeah,
and
they did lose.
That was
they
their
almost
first
lost
loss.
to the Colts. Like
Yeah.
they have bad games, so
Yeah.
if you hit them on a bad game, you.
So, all right. These next three teams are the remaining games at home. I think we can go through these easy. Well, maybe the Commanders,
Commanders win.
Texans,
Win.
Falcons.
Win.
Those have to be
So-
wins.
Those have to
You're
be
not
wins.
going to be.
Yeah.
So that's nice because we went through the hard ones at home first. We're like, realistically, we get one or two of those, we should win the other games. Like we can go
Yeah.
4-2 in the division. We can realistically that was what six
yeah.
home games. We can realistically go 4-2 in that. Like I'd be okay with sitting there at 8-4, and then we've still got some other games that we can take.
So just like with the home, like those, and then the division, you're sitting about 9-3 right now.
Okay.
So the away, you have the Broncos.
You
I
gotta
don't know.
win that. You have to
You
win.
say you have to win. We just played the Broncos this past year and we beat them, which was nice. But I don't know.
These are all away now.
They
We're
do
talking
Yeah.
about
also
away
have.
games.
They got a new coach, right? Didn't
yes, they got a new
yeah.
coach.
They
It's
got
Sean Payton.
It's
Yeah,
Sean
that's
Payton,
that's
yeah.
That's why I'm not taking them lightly. And
yeah,
I mean,
I forgot about that.
I do believe that Russ is taking a big step back. Even before they traded for him, I'm like, damn, I don't know why you're putting this
Yeah.
Russ is just gonna come out and win you the Super Bowl right away. He has shown the past 2 years that he's not been up to speed.
Yeah.
I think that's a win,
Okay.
but I'm not gonna take him lightly and say that it's a guarantee.
The Raiders.
Win.
Okay. Cowboys away.
That's a win because Aaron Rodgers goes ballistic against the Cowboys every time. Cole and my dad are both huge Cowboys fans. I'm going to that game, actually. It's in Dallas. We're going to go to that because, it's family affair or whatever. My dad loves going to Cowboys games. Hasn't been to one in a while. So it's them playing the Jets is that's ideal. But Aaron Rodgers, every single game against the Cowboys, Cole's like, God damn it, we play the Packers. Time for us to lose. Aaron Rodgers going to throw for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Mhm.
So that's my
Packers
prediction.
lose big games. That's a big game. Or not Packers. Cowboys. Cowboys lose big games.
The Giants.
Win. I do really like the Giants. People hate on Daniel Jones. I believe in Daniel Jones.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
I
a
think-
great game.
I think it will be a very good game, especially because even if that's an away game, that's still a home game.
Yeah, that's
So I think the stadium's gonna be split. The atmosphere is gonna be electric.
That's gonna be a
Holy
really
shit.
good game.
I think that you can't discredit the Giants because they were still a very solid team this year. I really think that'll be a good game, but I'm gonna go win.
That reminds
but
me of
Danny
like
Dimes-
a Heat Pacers series where the Heat have all the big name dudes. They're a really good team, but then the Giants are the younger up and coming Pacer team with Paul George, Danny Granger, all them.
But
That-
even the Jets are an
that gives
up
me
and
that
coming
feeling.
team too, though.
Yeah, they
'cause
are,
it's
but
who's
it's-
really an
so are the
established
Heat.
star?
So were the Heat, but the Heat also had the
Yeah.
big name guys, and the Giants don't. But if they don't get Saquon back, maybe that's a completely different team next year.
The Giants almost remind me of the Portland Trailblazers, where they've got a few young guys where they're exciting, but
Mhm.
also they're just
Like the LaMarcus Aldridge, Dame Lillard.
they're
Nick Batum
eternally the
one,
6th
yeah.
seed. They're constantly don't sleep on us, guys,
Yeah.
and then they're constantly getting slept on. But I think that they have what it takes to potentially get over the hump. The Trailblazers obviously did not
All right. Final game. Cleveland Browns away.
win.
So you have them going 14-3 this year,
Yes.
with the only non-divisional
they
loss
lose
being
that Cleveland
against
game.
the Chiefs.
I think they lose that Cleveland game because I think it's finally going to be Deshaun Watson getting that team back together.
So you both basically have them going 14-3 because you said they would beat the Chiefs. He said we'd lose, and then you said you beat the Browns and they'd lose the Browns. So 14-3.
I don't know. Going through that, we've been I'm going through. I'm like, oh, I actually feel really confident. There are some games
There's
now
gonna
that
be
there are
two
games where I'm
games
like,
that they
that's
play terrible.
borderline. That's borderline like
There's
a
gonna be
win.
two terrible
That
games
makes
that you
me-
have to account for, though.
that makes
So
me
if
think
you
that,
pick
like-
14-3, you're really picking 12-5.
Yeah,
Which
14
that is
exactly.
yeah.
That's more.
And if I had to pick those games that I said originally were win and probably gonna be a loss, I'm gonna go. Dallas, I think, is truly one that I'm kind of maybe the Browns, but I think it's probably more. Oh my god!
I don't want. I don't,
It's Chargers or who was the second? It went you and Chiefs Chargers.
Raiders or
No, it's not the Raiders. I'm not worried about that.
Texans,
No,
Commanders.
Okay, so maybe it was the Chargers. I thought there was another team, but I think it might be Chargers and Browns would be the two teams that I would be worried about.
Because you brought up the two bad games. I feel like it's going to be one of those teams that we ran through, like the Texans, the Falcons, like those. I feel like you're just going to have a bad game in that. Like every team does.
The Commanders, honestly, are a very weird team about the kind of doing that to people. I could see them having an absolute terrible, like 3 weeks in a row, they score like 6 points.
I feel like it would come from the Raiders, though, because, I mean, the Raiders are not any good.
Who?
And they're constantly, though, like, the Raiders are, everyone's like, damn, just who on the Raiders is good?
You
Why are
could
they
have
winning
a Devontae
games?
Adams against Aaron Rodgers thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, and
Yeah.
every year they're like, God damn, the Raiders suck. Like, who on this roster is good? And then somehow the Raiders go 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they always just, like, randomly pick up wins that you feel like you don't remember them getting, and then you look and they're right around 500.
And again, that could be one of those 2 games. Every team plays 2, they just did not show up for that game. Sometimes you still win them, but there's always 2 just weird games where it just doesn't click with them. Maybe that's a short week game or something like that, so.
Yeah, but I just wanted to see what your thoughts were. And
Yeah, that's,
and you
that's
guys,
optimistic.
You guys brought up a good point. It depends what week you're playing them, and like
Mhm.
what games come off the bye. What so. But
Okay, I remember what it was now. Whenever I said it, I considered a home game. Like, what are the other home teams? The Giants. I think that the Giants is also a very losable game. I counted that one as a win. I think that's a losable game. I said Chargers because I was like, might be remembering wrong. It's the Giants. I think Giants Browns are both like technically road games, like on the schedule what they're listed as. I think those are the two that would probably give us trouble, because obviously, like, I predicted going through all those games that we were going to go undefeated on the road. That's not likely. That's not what you're going to expect. But I think those are the two that give us trouble. I think home we can probably take care of business. It also does kind of suck because, again, it comes down to who do you play, when do you play them. Like the Chargers, like I said, that might be a close game. Say you're playing them week 1, you're playing them in New York. The Chargers are not used to playing in, I mean, actually, okay, not even week 1, what am I saying? More like week 9. The Chargers are not used to playing in January in New York. They're playing in San Diego, or not in San Diego anymore, Los Angeles, and it's sunny and at worst like 55. Like they're never playing in 30-degree snowing weather, freezing their ass off.
so
I don't know. I mean, maybe I think I'll have a more of an opinion. Numbers are more true once I see the schedule come out here soon, but that's my very raw predictions.
that's respectable. I like, just from an outside, like, I don't watch the Jets. I think wild card, like a wild card spot is a must. Like playoff, I could see them easily contending. I don't think the Patriots are going to be as good as you're kind of giving them credit for. Like, I just the whole Mac Jones thing, I think it's boiling over there. I don't think they're going to have anything to do. Like, they're probably going to be a 500 team, a little bit over. They're probably going to get like the 7th seed. I'm talking about the Patriots here, but I don't think they're as good. So I think you can contend, and I don't think Miami's going to be as good. I think they're probably going to play it safe with Tua.
They're all in, though, right now. They're making a lot of moves.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I haven't paid attention. to that,
I
but,
do agree that their offense might take a step back, but I still think it's realistic that we go 4-2 in the division, because even though those teams, like, I gave stock to the Patriots, like they're obviously still a solid team, but I still have us sweeping them.
Mhm.
And then I said we might still lose a game to the Dolphins, but we might sweep them. Like 4-2, 5-1, still very realistic, even with those teams taking step backs.
And at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers could be washed and terrible. And
And they go 5
they-
and 12.
Yeah, and they completely fall apart. Injuries hit them, and like that could happen too.
That would be terrible. But hey, you know what? I think if that happens, like say it's week 8, he's on Russell Wilson territory. He's playing terrible, like looking like a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. At that point, you bench him, tell his ass to retire. Maybe you trade him. You play Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson plays well. You have your future guy right there. Zach Wilson continues to play like Zach Wilson. Then you play into a good spot, and you try to take Caleb Williams in the first round. I mean, obviously, it's not ideal when you're like, oh well. One year we took the quarterback, the number 2 pick, and then the year later we traded for former MVP, and then the year after that we took the number 1 pick. Obviously not a great stretch of 3 years, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. You got to pivot and make the tough decisions.
Yep. And I think in that hopefully unlikely scenario, just for your sake as a Jets fan, you're going to be really relying on Zach Wilson learning and becoming more mature as a quarterback in those, I just say, 9 weeks of football where Rodgers are just biting the dust. And
I remember I said this earlier in one of our other podcasts. I said Aaron Rodgers is probably the worst person to be like the mentor for Zach Wilson.
See, I was just about to say
I'm
that
going to
he's the best.
completely flip, because I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a relaxed, fun, kind of like not take things incredibly too seriously in practices and stuff, and goof off with Zach and try and like make little games and competitions with him and kind of loosen Zach up a lot better, because Zach's now kind of even been shunned by his own team, whereas Aaron Rodgers just doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks. And maybe some of that can kind of rub off on Zach and maybe completely flip who Zach Wilson is. So I'm going to completely change my idea. Again, maybe it is the worst thing because Aaron Rodgers ends up being a dick and Zach just hates him, and that could happen. But I'm going to change my prediction. I think Aaron Rodgers is the best person for Zach Wilson to just completely refresh him.
I think that Zach he knows what's at stake. And people, like his teammates, all defended him whenever there were reports coming out saying that he didn't work hard, or he wasn't studying, he wasn't watching film. Everyone's like, no, that's just not true. He worked his ass off. Yet he was still he was just like in his own head, like he was still studying.
Kyler Murray's gonna lose this week.
Double XP weekend.
Yep.
But Zach and Aaron already have a prior relationship, which is huge. I think that they're gonna use that so that Zach can be like, Aaron, I appreciate everything you've done for me now, but like now let's get to it. And then he can kind of just soak it all up, because at the end of the day, like I do want Aaron to mentor Zach, but I don't really want him to be like, my job is to play quarterback and then to mentor. I want his job to be to play quarterback and nothing else. And Zach's just going to watch and observe and try to soak all that in. Because I don't want, like, if Aaron is, I think he's like 38, he's probably 39 right now. If he's towards the end of the year, last 2 years, like I don't want him 75% on trying to play quarterback, 25% trying to teach him. Like we got to win now. Like it's not like we can wait 4 years down the line and then we'll win. We're in win now mode.
Yeah.
But NFL draft coming up tomorrow. Any predictions for? I would say like we can talk a little bit about it. I don't know like how many opinions you guys have, but top 4 or 5 picks, a lot of quarterbacks. People are projecting, a lot have been shifting in odds. Who's going high? What quarterback do you think goes first?
I heard that, which I don't know if it's true. Somebody tweeted that Will Levis told them that he said Carolina was going to take him.
I saw that.
It
was a Reddit post, no? Like, wasn't one of his friends or something?
I don't think I believe that.
Yeah.
I think Bryce Young will probably still get taken first. I think C.J. Stroud will get taken second.
Okay, so did you see like the test that like I don't know if it's
the
all
S2 cognition test.
Yes,
that's new. It used to be the Wonderlic. They switched to the S2 cognition test.
He scored an 18 on that,
which is the lowest in NFL history.
Yeah, I think his draft stock has completely tanked after that. I don't think he's going to, and I don't think.
I hope so, because I want the Colts to take Stroud. I think Stroud is going to end up being the best.
And the Colts
guy.
are super high on him too, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
But
they're also high on
what about
Levis.
Anthony or Richardson? Is he?
I'm very scared about him. I'm worried he does like the Malik Willis and the Zach Wilson thing, where they're just highlights and draft and pro day and combine numbers make him go. I'm really worried about him.
It wasn't even like the draft day or the draft. What am I saying? The pro day and like the combine stuff that shot Richardson up the boards. It was always just like that athleticism, that high ceiling, kind of like Josh Allen. Personally, if I am and Josh, and he's more of a less of a Malik Willis, Zach Wilson, Josh Allen, like in terms of play style, and I feel like he's more Josh Allen's still accurate, but I'm gonna say like a Lamar Jackson, because he's got the build of Allen. He's willing to take hits, but he runs like Lamar Jackson. Bro has wheels. He's evasive. He's agile. He gets out of the pocket well. He's not afraid to pull it down. I think that if I have the number 1 overall pick, like a lot of these guys kind of have like drawbacks to them, where like C.J. Stroud, Cole and I've had conversations about this. Ohio State quarterbacks don't have a great track record. Can you hold that against C.J. Stroud? No, because no Ohio State quarterback before this was the caliber of prospect. Like you can't be like, oh, well, Dwayne Haskins might go pick number 10, and since he wasn't any good, C.J. Stroud's not going to be any good. Well, okay, Dwayne Haskins was in conversation for pick 10. C.J. Stroud is in conversation for the Heisman, for the number 1 overall pick. Like he's not the same level of prospect, but also the Wonderlic test or the S2 test, whatever, that's got to hurt his ability. I think that Bryce Young's height is definitely not great. No, obviously, being 5'10" and you have 6'6" linemen, it's going to be a little bit difficult. He did say today, though, they asked him about it. He said, well, I can't grow, so, not much I can do about it. And then Will Levis is just kind of one that I don't really feel super high on. I feel like he's a prospect or a project, but has just like less tools than Anthony Richardson. If I have the first overall pick, personally, I'm taking Anthony Richardson. Because if he doesn't hit, next year you're playing for Caleb Williams still if he goes out and plays like shit. And then even if he's a mild hit and he learns to pass the football a little bit, he's still Lamar Jackson, and you have a top 5 rushing offense in the league. If he does hit, he's a mix between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. He can do whatever he wants in the pocket, and he can run and truck people and evade people. Like, he could be like damn near Cam Newton-esque winning, and could win more than one MVP. Like, I take Anthony Richardson if I have the number 1 overall pick.
So, Richardson, I'm not a football prospect, but or a scout or anything like that. But I do know that rich owners and rich GMs and football purists don't like athletic quarterbacks because they're afraid of them always getting hurt. Lamar Jackson, even if they haven't been catastrophic injuries, he's gotten hurt quite a bit, even though he doesn't really take a ton of hits, but he still is getting hurt from weird things here and there. Obviously, Richardson kind of has more of that slender, even more athletic build than like a Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts has more of a stocky build. So that's why I feel like Hurts isn't going to get hit or get hurt as much as maybe more of those like slender freak athlete kind of people. And there's a chance that he could like do like what Ja does, where he's reckless with his athleticism and is going to cause injuries as well. Levis, I feel like, is a Derek Carr. Like he has nothing that's going to make him special. He's probably a pretty smart pinpoint kind of guy, but he's just going to be an average to somewhat good guy down the road. Bryce Young is way too small. He might be phenomenal, but he's way too small. And I would just be constantly worried about him getting passes blocked down and getting destroyed by massive dudes. CJ Stroud, that's why I think he's the best choice. Even if he is maybe a little dumb, the guy has the best arm, I feel like, in terms of skill set and being able to move the ball. And he proved he could run in the playoffs there. So that's
he improved his draft stock a ton in the college football playoffs. But I know what you're saying when you mean he has the best arm, but like the best projectability or like the best knows how to use his arm. But Will Levis' arm talent is through the roof. This guy has a cannon. Like, holy shit. Like, he can make any throw you want. He can put anything in any window. He puts so much zip on the ball, but that's kind of the problem where it's like he can be reckless and doesn't know how to use it. I agree with you that CJ Stroud has the best.
But that's another thing, like, especially with what Josh Allen did this year, throwing so many clutch time interceptions. A lot of people might be like, ooh, do I want Will Levis? Yeah, he's got this insane arm, and we want to build up confidence, but is he going to start making bad decisions because he trusts his arm too much and starts trying to do a little too much, or just makes dumb decisions here and there like Josh Allen has done? So that's like all of them, and that's where it's like trying to read the guys on the team or whatever, because or the guys that are drafting. It's like, what do they want? Where do they think the most risk-wise? Almost more than who they think has the most upside.
I feel that. I was going to make a point, and I just do not remember what it was. I just keep losing my train of thought today, and I don't know what it is.
So we've been talking about quarterbacks. I don't know, like Evan, I don't know a lot about like the prospects and stuff, but who is the best like outside of quarterback that is available? Because Seahawks, thanks to the Broncos, have pick number 5. I don't think we're going to be drafting a quarterback. I think we're going to try and ride with Geno, at least until his contract's up.
Isn't that guy from Alabama, that defender? Isn't everybody really high up on him?
Yeah. Oh, my. Will Anderson.
Trying to rebuild that Legion of Boom, baby.
Yeah.
What they got to do.
Well, that was more of a secondary. Will Anderson is great. Tyree Wilson's been shooting up a lot. Jalen Carter is one that's very good, but it's kind of the knock against Jalen Carter is that right after the national championship game, one of his teammates and like a staffer were killed in a car accident, and then he was like a part of that. Like he was like he left the scene and fled.
So that's right.
Yes. So that's the thing that is the big knock. I think he's still very talented. Were the Seahawks a team that came out and said they don't care about his legal issues? They just care about how well he can play football?
If I don't know about that one. I haven't heard anything.
Somebody said that and said that they're still willing to take him, which I think is smart because he is a great player, and it does feel like an honest mistake. I mean, and kind of a freak situation because it's not like you can just rely on things like that where, oh, no, he's going to get himself in trouble again in the NFL. Like, you hope against all hope that that's not going to happen to one of his teammates and a staffer. But I do remember what I was going to say. We talked about Lamar where they're against athletic quarterbacks. I think it's a little bit different because Lamar is kind of like you can be reckless but smart about it. I don't like John Morant's throwing his body around like playing to get hurt. Lamar is kind of like reckless in the style where it's like he'll go out there and just kind of throw himself around, but he evades people too and doesn't take huge hits. But if you're Anthony Richardson, you can kind of you can afford to take those hits because Lamar, when you're 6'1", 6'2", 210 pounds after having multiple years in NFL weight room, you might not be built to be getting smashed. Anthony Richardson is 6'5", 235, 240 pounds. You can handle that a little bit better after never being in an NFL weight room. Like, you got to think he's going to add at least like another 10 to 15 when he gets in there, and they've got him. I mean, obviously college weight rooms and eating programs and stuff like that. He's going to put on weight, but I think the NFL takes it to the next level. He adds a little bit more. He just fits his style even more. Like, his body just evolves.
Mm-hmm.
The Texans that are not. There have been a few reports they might not take a quarterback with number 2.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Do you think they trade, or do you think they go after? I mean, I don't know who else they need. I don't want.
I think you trade to somebody who wants a quarterback high up, let him take it, and then you can still pick probably whoever you want at 2 just later if it's not a quarterback.
I think you have to trade because there are still some teams that have shown that they're kind of needy in the draft. Like, if you hit trade, I don't remember off the top of my head. I know there are a few teams that have been kind of advertised as looking to trade for a pick. The top 4 or 5 picks you got to think are probably going to be quarterbacks taken. So you could realistically trade back to probably pick 6, 7 and get one of the top 3 players that you were already probably like, if you say you weren't taking a quarterback with 2, like they were fully with taking a defensive player, like Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, and Jalen Carter are the top 3. You can trade back to 6, 7, 8 and realistically probably get one of those guys at that point. But then you're also getting the extra capital on the backside for those teams to move up. You might get a second later on. You might get a first next year. I think that it's worth it if they're actually committed to not taking a quarterback. I just don't really see the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
If Cole were here, he would say because if you take a quarterback and put them in the system for the Texans, it's not built for a quarterback to win right now. They have no weapons, so it would just kind of be setting them up for failure. But he thinks that you take which I do see his reasoning here. So like that, like when Cole said this, it kind of made me be like, okay, I agree. I now am more open to the Texans not taking a quarterback. But Davis Mills can kind of not stopgap you because he's not great, but he can kind of hold it over. You got DeMeco Ryans, who's a fantastic defensive coordinator. He's going to be a defensive coach. You build up your defense. You do that, maybe add a few offensive weapons. John Mechie's coming back this year. Maybe second round, you add like a running back, or you add so you can get a second guy behind Damian Pierce. You add a receiver or a tight end here. There's like a few extra weapons. And then you just kind of commit to the tank again. Like, okay, we've got solid young guys we're promising. Next year, you maybe trade up for the first overall pick. You take Caleb Williams. Now you have some weapons with some experience, some solid defensive pieces that your coach knows how to work with. You make a pretty decent jump rather than being like, let me take C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young with a 2 pick, and then he can be solid, but his weapons suck ass, and then we're sitting at 4 or 5 wins for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Which Cole made that point. I was like, wow, that's actually a really good point. So I'm curious to see how the Texans approach it, and I'm intrigued to see what they do. Any other points? Anything else we want to talk about?
No.
Go Warriors.
I'm with Cole on this one. I feel like sometimes, like, because he's my brother, I do root for his teams, but I do want to see the Kings win. That'd be pretty sweet. I also kind of want to see the Heat win. I think that'd be cool. Heat and the Kings in the championship, I would be open to. I wouldn't mind seeing the Cavs or the Knicks as well in the East, but I do want to see Kings out of the West. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and shout out to Crescent. Been so thankful they've been letting us do this podcast all semester. They've been posting all about it, getting the word out, and they've just been promoting us, so we really appreciate it. Go ahead, follow us on Instagram, Crescent Magazine, Twitter, Crescent Magazine 1, Facebook, UE, Crescent Magazine. Give us a follow on all those socials, especially Instagram. But with that, we're going to call it for this episode, call it for this semester, and I'll let Austin sign it off because it's his last episode.
Just want to reiterate, thank you guys so much for letting me be a part of this. I've been a blast for the past 7-8 weeks. I've always kind of wanted to do a podcast like this, so nice to know that there's 3 other people. Miss you, Cole, already. You've only been gone 1 week, but we miss you, even if we like talk shit about you all the time. But so I just want to say thank you, and to everyone listening, thank you for listening to us, and hope to see you next semester. Peace.
Hey!